The WWE Draft is supposed to be one of the most exciting nights of the year for wrestling fans and answer the critical question, where can fans watch their favorite superstars exclusively wrestle? And for the most part in WWE's history, they've actually done a decent job at presenting the draft as both important and keeping the stakes of what was on the line in the first place, and that being exclusivity. However, if we've learned anything from the past few drafts, it's that WWE really doesn't care about sticking to the draft order, and honestly, it's kind of made the entire thing suck. And I'm going to talk about exactly why I personally think the WWE draft at this point sucks, and that doesn't mean that it can't be saved, but I really do think that the way WWE have gone about presenting it and gone about adhering / not really adhering to it is an issue. And it is at the core of one of the most pressing issues that fans have raised about the company in the past few years. And that has to do with not listening to them and making us feel like what we're watching on TV doesn't matter. And I think that really is at the crux of all of this. WWE, when they first presented the draft in 2002, it brought a very new meaning onto the product that we were seeing, because instead of, having all these great superstars appearing on both Raw and SmackDown, you got brand exclusive superstars that only appeared on either brand, and it made fans really choose which brands that they were going to watch. And from WWE's perspective, it was really good because you were kind of fostering that internal competition. You didn't have WCW. You didn't have an alternative at the time, with ECW also going out of business. So what's the next best thing they can do? You can create your own competition. And WWE did exactly that. And for that, it was a brilliant move. I mean, the first draft, look back at the way they presented it, the brand extension, what they called it. It was honestly one of the most creative, different, and successful ideas in the entire company's history. And then in 2004, they did it again. They shook up, though, a bit of what they were doing in the process, making it more of a draft lottery style thing. And that also showed that not only is this draft, this brand extension, the idea of brand exclusivity, not only was it a creative idea to begin with, but we, the company, WWE, are also evolving this idea as time goes by. And we saw that in the 2004 draft. It was one of the most exciting drafts, in my opinion. It was my first draft, so I might be biased on that. But still, I mean, that's when you got those great shots of Triple H being drafted to SmackDown, him spitting up the water in absolute anger at what was happening, and you had those great matches. That was a great draft because you saw the SmackDown superstars that were exclusive to SmackDown at that point actually wrestle on Raw. You got to see Eddie Guerrero versus Triple H on Monday Night Raw, which, when you really think about it, that's something that you would never think you would have seen. And that's how good it was. That's how good the brand extension was, because the idea of someone like Eddie Guerrero, who you only thought of as a SmackDown superstar, the idea of him even coming to Monday Night Raw blew your mind. And that shows you how successful the WWE draft, the brand extension, whatever you want to call it, it shows you how successful that was. And you can talk about all the different examples too. You can talk about The Undertaker. Like, The Undertaker was on SmackDown for years. And then the one time he popped up on the Raw, it was one of the coolest things you had ever seen, because you had not seen it in such a long time and you were conditioned to not expect it. It was a surprise. And you could have those genuine moments of surprise anytime a SmackDown superstar appeared on Raw, or vice versa. And unfortunately, that's not the way we think of these things anymore. That's because of the problem I raised earlier. Nowadays, the WWE draft doesn't have stakes because WWE doesn't stick to their own rules, and they feel like they shouldn't. I mean, look at the idea of in recent memory, look at the idea of free agents in wrestling, right? Free agents, when you have a cool gimmick around it, can work. The idea of John Cena being a free agent, someone who's not around that much, someone who, you could see being able to negotiate a contract to be a free agent, that's all well and good. But now WWE is getting into the groove of being like, well, free agency is something that just about anyone can do. And yes, when I say just about anyone, I do mean Omos. I'm sorry to all the Omos fans out there, but come on. Like, to compare Omos' situation to Brock Lesnar or anyone else is just, it's silly. Anyway. But the idea of free agents and anyone or almost anyone being able to be a free agent really undermines the idea that you're trying to build these superstars to be exclusive to their brands and you're trying to build this rule to mean something. What also undermines it, and honestly, if you ask me, undermined it the most, were things like the wild card rule or just times when WWE didn't really care about brand exclusivity and just had people wrestle on Raw or SmackDown regardless of what brand they were. And that really is the bigger problem, because around, I would say, 2010, we saw a shift in the way that WWE viewed the brand extension and brand exclusivity. And that's when you saw more SmackDown superstars popping up on Raw, more Raw superstars popping up on SmackDown, and vice versa. And it really broke down the conditioning that fans had it up until that point of, well, we're only supposed to see so-and-so on whatever brand. And it got us now expecting, well, like basically anyone can show up anywhere. So I shouldn't be surprised when a Raw exclusive superstar shows up to SmackDown. And that's the issue, because it shouldn't be like that. When the WWE draft was at its best, it was when you had superstars only wrestle on their brands. And it's not something that WWE has really tried to bring back. It's not something that they have really tried to lean into. Like, they did the thing in 2016 where I thought the first year of that 2016 draft, by the way, was really good, because AJ Styles, Jon Moxley, or Dean Ambrose, I'm sorry, WWE fans, but AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, and people like that, I only thought of them as SmackDown superstars. And then on Raw, Braun Strowman and guys like that, I was like, you are a Raw superstar. And they did such a great job at presenting those two shows as different. They did such a good job as presenting those talents as brand exclusive. They did such a great job with breaking up the pay-per-view, something that you can do now with your contract with Peacock, the way it's set up. You can have those brand exclusive pay-per-views and not have to worry about how much revenue is coming in and who's watching what, because the money is guaranteed regardless. So to me, it incentivizes WWE to do that. But what went wrong the second time around is the same thing that went wrong the first time around, and that was, well, they eased it in. First, they did brand exclusive pay-per-views, and you got, oh, well, now everyone can wrestle on every pay-per-view. Okay, well enough. But then they added things like the wild card rule, which made absolutely no sense, because you had, 5 superstars from each brand could show up on the other brand, and then it just became a mess and people forgot about it. And that's what cannot happen. They're already undermining it with the amount of free agents they have. The only way right now that WWE can undermine the draft more is by not sticking to it. If you have a SmackDown superstar, they should only be on SmackDown. I don't care what the circumstances are, barring something like that big volcano that just like basically stopped all air travel in Europe and you had half your roster stuck over there. Barring something like that, or another catastrophic emergency, there's no need to ever have someone like Roman Reigns, who is SmackDown exclusive. You should not have him on Raw. Vice versa, someone like Seth Rollins, who is Raw exclusive, do not even put him in the same vicinity of SmackDown in any way, shape, or form. That's the way you fix this. That's the way you make fans like me care about these stipulations. Because if not, what the hell are we even watching all of this for? Why should I care about something that WWE doesn't give a crap about? Tell me when I'm telling lies. I want to hear from y'all, though. Let me know what you guys think about the WWE draft. Do you like the current format? What do you think about the free agents? What are your problems with the draft? What are your favorite parts of the draft? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already done so, do me a big time favor. Smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I'm Omer from Real Take Wrestling. Keep it real.